All right, strap in, everybody. Today we are taking a deep dive into something truly wild. We're talking about a secret war, a real secret war against, well, Barney the Purple Dinosaur.
Yeah, not exactly your typical playground scuffle.
Definitely not. And just to be clear, we're not talking about kids hating the show or anything. We're dealing with something much, much stranger.
Absolutely. We're going to be diving into some pretty bizarre source material. We're talking like in-universe documents from this, well, world, and even forum posts from an actual role-playing game community.
Yeah, and those get pretty intense.
They can get pretty involved, that's for sure.
So for our listeners, our mission today is to try and figure out a few things. Mainly, how does a harmless children's character become the target of, an organized opposition? Like, who is fighting this war? Why? And how do they keep it all under wraps?
Yeah, excellent questions. And the answers are weirder than you might think.
I would imagine so.
First, let's introduce the folks who have declared war on Barney. They call themselves the Jihad to Destroy Barney. Yeah.
Not exactly subtle.
No, not at all. But, I mean, who are these people?
Yeah.
And what turned them so violently against, the singing dinosaur?
Well, the Jihad, or the JTDB as they sometimes call themselves, they are a pretty diverse bunch. They've got all sorts of folks in there, all with their own reasons for joining up, but they all have this one shared goal.
Okay, and what's that?
Taking down Barney. No compromise.
Drastic. So where did this all start?
The Jihad's origin story traces back to 1990. They had this high-profit figure who claimed to have visions revealing Barney's, let's just say, true nature, and it wasn't pretty.
So, like, they weren't just annoyed by the songs. This was something deeper, darker.
Way deeper. The high prophet laid out what they called the threefold truth. This essentially declared Barney a massive threat to humanity and called for, well, a jihad to eliminate him.
Wow. Okay, so not your average cancel culture movement. They saw Barney as an existential threat. Exactly. And this declaration marked the beginning of the war. Though their early years were, well, let's just say they had some growing pains. They had a lot of infighting, some failed operations. One of them even tried to, get this, take over the Barney and Friends set in 1991.
Yikes.
Yeah, didn't go so well. Not exactly stealthy.
So not exactly the A-team in their early days.
No, but after that debacle, they reorganized. They started forming what they call Jihad Autonomous Organizations, or JAOs for short. Think of them like specialized cells within the larger jihad, each with their own strengths and styles. You've got, for example, the Dobermans, who are all about brute force.
I mean, the name kind of gives it away.
Right. And then you've got Therese Corps. They're more focused on, like, technology and research and stuff.
Okay, starting to see some organization here. But this begs the question, what makes Barney such a terrifying enemy? That it requires this kind of organization to combat him. What are they seeing that we aren't?
Well, that's where things take a turn for the truly strange. According to the Jihad, Barney, as we know him, the cuddly purple dinosaur, isn't just a guy in a suit. They believe he is actually a powerful ancient being named Baharn.
Hold on, we're going full Lovecraftian horror here. Barney is some kind of eldritch abomination.
Well, not exactly Lovecraftian. The Jihad's sources paint a slightly different picture.
Okay, I'm all ears. Tell me more about this Baharn.
Well, the way they describe him, Baharn is like this ancient entity, like something from, well, Atlantis, like the result of some messed up Atlantean experiment gone wrong. He's basically this parasitic entity, and he's got all these reality warping powers. They say he's been hibernating for centuries until, wouldn't you know it, he gets discovered by a technologically advanced alien civilization.
Wait, Atlantis anti-aliens? It's a lot to unpack.
Yeah, welcome to the world of the Jihad.
And I'm guessing these aliens are not here for a friendly visit.
These aliens, the Lyrans, are a complex bunch. They're advanced, technologically speaking, but they're also pretty wary of us humans. They see us as a potential threat. And in Baharn, well, they've found a perfect tool to, let's just say, keep us in check.
So we've got a reality-warping dinosaur puppet master, A&D, some shady alien overlords. Humanity just can't catch a break.
It does seem that way, doesn't it?
So where does the Jihad fit into all this? If Baharn is so powerful and he's got these aliens backing him up, how are they even supposed to fight back?
Well, that's what we'll dive into next time. We'll explore how the Jihad operates, the weapons and tactics they use, and what they believe is the key to defeating Baharn and his, well, let's just call it his Purple Horde.
Welcome back, everyone. Last time, we left off with a pretty wild cliffhanger.
Yeah, we're deep in the weeds now.
We dove into the Jihad's origins, their belief that Barney is actually this ancient, reality-warping entity named Burhan.
And we touched on those Lyrans, the alien civilization that seems to be pulling some strings behind the scenes.
So let's talk more about the opposition. Barney isn't exactly fighting this war alone, is he?
Oh, not at all. He's got his own forces, the ones that Jihad calls the Purple Horde. And it's not just a bunch of hypnotized toddlers.
Oh, good. Because that was my next question. Like, who are these people who are siding with, a reality-warping dinosaur?
Right. Well, there are basically three main types of beings in the Purple Horde. You've got your hypnotized humans, the ones the Jihad calls sponge minions. And then you've got those who are, well, they're true believers.
True believers. Like, they know what Belharn really is, and they're okay with it.
Yeah, the Jihad calls them wire minions. Some are drawn to his power, maybe believe he's going to, take over the world, and they want to be on the winning side. Others, well, who knows? Maybe they just like chaos.
So we got brainwashed folks and power-hungry opportunists. Not a great mix. But what about the Lyrans? What's their role in all of this? Are they just, like, lending Barney a hand, or do they have their own agenda?
Remember how we talked about them seeing humanity as a potential threat?
Yeah, not exactly the take-me-to-your-leader type.
Right. Well, the Jihad believes the Lyrans are using Biharn to kind of manipulate humanity from the shadows, like keeps us under control.
So it's like a cosmic puppet show, with Barney as the front man.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
I'm starting to sense a pattern here. It seems like everybody's using Barney for their own ends. Nobody's really thinking about the big picture.
Yeah, like maybe Biharn's playing his own game and everybody else is just a pawn. But it doesn't stop there. We've also got another group lurking around in the background, and this one might be familiar to some listeners.
Ooh, lay it on me. Who are we talking about?
The Illuminati?
Ah, the Illuminati, of course.
Yeah.
Couldn't have a good conspiracy theory without them.
Right. But here's the thing. The Jihad sees the Illuminati as, well, kind of a distraction.
A distraction from what? The whole Barney situation.
Yeah. The Jihad sources say the Illuminati have their own goals, their own long-term plan that they've been working on for centuries.
Okay, I have to ask, what exactly is this grand plan? World domination. Lizard people.
The sources call it a project. Something about guiding humanity's evolution, ensuring our survival, that kind of thing.
So they're like playing the long game, pulling the strings from the shadows.
Yeah, something like that. But the specifics are, well, a little fuzzy.
That's never a good sign.
No, it's not. The sources do suggest, though, that the Illuminati's methods can be, well, let's just say they're not afraid to get their hands dirty.
I'm sensing a theme here. Lots of manipulation, lots of people thinking they're in control. But who's really calling the shots?
That's the big question, isn't it? We've got the Jihad fighting for humanity's freedom, the Lyrans trying to control us through Barney, and the Illuminati off doing their own mysterious thing. It's messy.
It's a lot to process.
That's for sure. But wait, there's more. Our sources mention some smaller groups as well, like the Maenads, a bunch of magic users who seem to oppose both Barney and the Lyrans.
Magic users? Where did they come from?
Not entirely clear, but they're out there apparently. And then there's the Church of St. Dino.
The Church of... Wait, is that Dino from the Flintstones?
The one and only. They believe he's the rightful purple dinosaur, I guess you could say.
Wow. This is getting more absurd by the minute.
Yeah, it really is. But I guess it just goes to show how many different players are involved in this whole, secret war thing.
So we've got high-tech soldiers, alien overlords, ancient magic users, and people who really, really love Dino.
What a time to be alive, right?
This brings up another question, though. How does this war, with all its players and all its weirdness, affect the world we know? Like, are we seeing the ripples of this conflict without even realizing it?
Now, that's a question worth exploring.
Welcome back to the show. We're wrapping up our deep dive into the secret war against Barney the Purple Dinosaur.
Yeah, and believe me, it's been a wild ride.
So far, we've covered the Jihad, those folks dedicated to taking down Barney, the entity they believe is hiding behind Barney's, friendly facade.
We talked about Barney's powers, his connection to the Lyrans, and, that whole Illuminati thing.
Right, and we can't forget those other factions, the Maenads and the Church of St. Dino.
Oh, yeah. Gotta love the Church of St. Dino.
Seriously. But before we wrap things up completely, I think we need to talk about one of the most mind-boggling aspects of all this, the secrecy. Like, how do they manage to keep a war against a giant reality-warping purple dinosaur under wraps?
Well, it's not easy. Both the Jihad and Bihar, they understand that, exposing the war to the rest of the world, to the mundanes, as they call them, would just lead to
Yeah, I
chaos.
can imagine. Panic in the streets.
Exactly. Nobody wants that. So they both work really hard to keep things quiet.
But how do they actually do that? With all the weird stuff going on, you'd think there'd be more, I don't know, leaks, rumors?
Well, they're good at what they do. They've got this whole system set up for covering their tracks, witness elimination, manipulating information, staging fake events.
So it's like they're rewriting history as they go.
Pretty much. Plus, they've got something else working in their favor. Our own tendency to dismiss the strange.
What do you mean?
Think about it. If someone told you they saw a giant purple dinosaur shooting lasers from its eyes, you'd probably think they were, crazy.
Okay, yeah, fair point.
Right. We live in a world where people are already primed to believe in conspiracy theories, so the truly weird stuff, it just gets dismissed.
Guess it's easier to believe in, like, fake moon landings than a war against Barney.
Sadly, yeah.
But what about the people who DO see something? Like innocent bystanders who get caught in the crossfire.
The Jihad calls those incidents blowback, the unintended consequences of the war leaking into the mundane world.
So, like, what? Unexplained disappearances, weird weather events.
All of that, even, sudden economic crashes, stock market fluctuations, that kind of thing.
So some of those weird news stories that just, like, never get explained, they could be connected to this war.
It's possible.
That's kind of terrifying, honestly.
It is. It really makes you think about how much we don't know, how much is happening right under our noses.
We started this deep dive with this question. How does a children's character become the target of a secret war?
Yeah.
But now I'm wondering if the real question is, what does this war say about reality? What does it say about USOs?
That's a big question, and I'm not sure I have the answer.
Yeah.
I think what we've uncovered here, it goes way beyond the lore of a role-playing game. It's about the power of belief, the seductive nature of power, and maybe even the fragility of our own perception of reality.
I guess that's the power of a good deep dive, right? It makes you question everything.
Absolutely. It's not about finding all the answers. It's about asking the right questions.
So as we close out this journey into the world of the Jihad, Bihar, the Purple Horde, and even the Church of St. Dino, what would you say is the big takeaway for our listeners?
I'd say never underestimate the power of curiosity. Keep questioning, keep digging, and, maybe keep a wary eye out for any giant purple dinosaurs lurking in the shadows.
Words to live by. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone. We'll see you next time.